Welcome to the August 19th meeting of the Coeur d'Alene Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. We'll start off the meeting with roll call.
Commissioner Cranston,
Here.
Commissioner McDowell,
Here.
Commissioner Lean,
Here.
Commissioner Tate,
Here.
Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Wood, Commissioner Edinger.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. And with that, Mike, would you lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance?
You bet. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do any of the commissioners tonight have a conflict of interest with any of our agenda items?
None here.
There are none. And that's going to bring us to the approval of the May 20th, 2019 meeting minutes. Seems like it's been a while since we've done this.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved by Commissioner Edinger and seconded by Commissioner Lean to approve the May 20th, 2019 meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. May meeting minutes are approved. Well, with that, Bill, it brings us to your staff report.
So a couple updates for you. We've begun the restoration of the grandstands. We've got the siding off a memorial, and now you can see the skeleton and the bare bones of it. An interesting thing, I got a call from John Mueller the other day, and they happened to find in there a couple of wooden reels that looked like they were built in the 20s or 30s maybe, where they used to wind up the old hose. So we've asked the contractor to cut those out carefully, and maybe we'll put them on display somewhere, or maybe Dorothy, the museum wants it. But I'd like to see if we could get them near the grandstands themselves and put them in a flower bed and maybe have a description of what it is. So it was a neat find. But the contractor's working away. We're taking the roof off tomorrow, I think, or at least this week. So that's cooking right along. We've been working with NIC, partnering with them on some landscape enhancements from River to Hubbard along that BLM corridor. And so we've gone to bid. I worked with Del Hatch. We've got some design drawings, and we're opening bids this Thursday at, I think, 11 o'clock. So we're hopeful that the bids come in on budget and we can get something done over there. So that's cooking along. And then tomorrow evening, Phil Boyd is going to present to council the Atlas Mill project. So it's all of the elements that all you commissioners asked for. It's just kind of an update before we go to bid. We'll be going to bid near the end of this month, and we're going to give notice to proceed the first week or two of October. So there's been a bit of delay, and it actually is helpful for the project. I think Commissioner Cranston, you and I talked about this. It really helps with the water level going down. They can do that work from both the shore itself and above for that shoreline mitigation that they need to do. So that's going along. And then I've got something here I want to show you. As you recall, some years back, we partnered with the Pickleball Association, and they gave us a little bit of money to help refurbish the tennis courts at Northshire. And we did that with a thing called armor, which is really nothing more than tape that goes over a crack. And it turned out, unbeknownst to all of us, that there's a wiffle ball, a pickleball, doesn't have the weight as a tennis ball or the velocity. And when it hit that tape, the ball actually just died. It never would bounce. So we went in, tore out the tape, and tried to fill it with what the manufacturer suggested we do. And we were going to have to repair those cracks time and time again. Well, I got together with Jeff Erickson and one of our new employees. His name is Czar Thackeray. Czar is a very talented young guy. And we went out there and tried about 5 or 4 different products and how it was going to work and what was going to work and what wouldn't work. So over a period of days, we let these things set up and poked and prodded on them to see how they were working. And none of them really worked very well, but Czar found a product. It's a type of cement, and I've forgotten the name of it, but it's not like Portland. It's something different. Anyway, he worked this thing over, and what I want to show you are all of the slides of the befores and after what Czar did. So this is what they looked like before. So this was had tape over it, and we removed that tape, and then we filled it with some cement-type material we got from the manufacturer, and then took some paint and painted over this. You can see how crummy it looked. And this is a bit of a close-up. These are about 2 inches deep to an inch in here. And the material that we'd put in there before, we had him remove that. And again, this is just sort of some, it's indicative of there are 6 courts out there, 6 pickleball courts. The 2 tennis court, or the 1 tennis court down on the far east end wasn't affected. The trees that affected this court, I'm okay, I don't mind reaching. It's up to you. Thanks, boss. So it doesn't have cracks in it like this does. We had there were some Scotch pine that were on the north side of this property, these courts, and the water source was the grass on the south side. So the Scotch pines were reaching for water and making a mess of the courts. So this is some of the material he was removing, and that's what they look like when he was done. So we happen to have some plexi-pave that we had received from NIC, and it was all green. It was this color. Well, this area here is called the kitchen, and usually the kitchen's a little different than the play area. And so we went over to Sherwin-Williams, and we talked to them a little bit, and they tinted this for us. So they took a little bit of red and made the green brown. And so the reason we did this on the outside was we just painted this one on. He actually squeegeed all this material on, taped off all these areas, and then cut in, and then went all the way around the court. And that, you can see here, we didn't work in the out-of-play area. You can see that's a piece of tape. One of those cracks I showed you followed right through here. And that's the 3 that he'd finished on the north side, and after this, he had done the other 3 on the south side. And we're getting rave reviews from the pickleball community. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Czar. He's a good hand, and he was getting in there early because some of this stuff gets too hot and he can't work. So he was coming in 4:30-ish, 4 sometimes, to get this done. So anyway, it's a nice thing we've got this kind of talent to work in-house.
Well, that's outstanding.
Great job. Yeah, looks good.
And that's all I've got for you.
Okay. Any questions for Bill? Thank you, Bill. Does any of the commissioners have any comments or announcements? Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, Mike.
One thing, it's actually should be a question for Bill. Grandstand work. Do we have any idea at this point in time, Bill, at what time or time frame that's estimated to be completed within?
I do not. We're hopeful. They've got a pretty good crew working on it, so I'm hopeful we can get most of it buttoned up before the snow flies.
Okay.
I don't know, again, I'm just speculating here. I like to be able to get some paint on it before it starts getting wet again, but that I'm not certain about.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Public comment period. Is there anybody with us tonight that wants to address the commission that isn't here as part of one of the agenda items? Okay. If you'd come forward to the podium and please state your name and address for the record, you have 5 minutes.
Gina Bodker, 2169 West Aviera Place. And I'm delighted to show up just when you were giving your report, because we play pickleball 4 to 5 days a week out there at the new courts. And I've seen you out there, and that I just want to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And thank you for seeing it through. Whoever the fellow was that you had, he was amazing. You're right. He worked in that heat and just.
Yeah, it was hot.
It was hot, and he got it done. So just wanted to say thank you.
No,
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you, Gina. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and close the public comment item, and actually brings us to our first and only action item tonight. It is regarding the Midway project. The decision point tonight would be, should the Parks and Recreation Commission approve the Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, with the Centennial Trail Foundation for the Midway landscape improvements at Riverstone Park. Riverstone Park was established in 2007 with a land donation from SRM Development and financial assistance from Ignite Coeur d'Alene. The park is owned and maintained by the city, and the pond is owned and maintained by Riverstone Master Association. Financial analysis. All funds for this, the Midway landscape enhancement along the Centennial Trail, Riverstone Park, will be provided by Centennial Trail Foundation. There will be no cost to the city for the design and installation of this enhancement to Riverstone Park. Once the Midway is completed, the Parks Department will maintain this new portion of the park. Performance analysis. After the completion of Riverstone Park and the installation of the Prairie Trail, we began to consider some enhancements in this area along the trail that included additional parking for Riverstone Park and a green belt between the trail and the park entrance. This proposed Midway plan accomplishes what we had envisioned some years ago, and this concept will help with the addition of parking needs and create a much more inviting entrance to the park. Again, the decision tonight is whether the commission would authorize the Memorandum of Understanding with the Centennial Trail Foundation for the Midway landscape improvements at Riverstone Park. With that, Bill, do you
So
want to
some
add
months
some
back,
comments?
John Mueller and Doug Eastwood brought you this concept, and then you asked that we, he, and they, and myself, get together and go through the plan, which we did. And we've made some modifications to everybody's, I think, they're pleased with it. I think the foundation was pleased with it, and I think you'll see what we did was some of the concerns that we talked about last time we met. So with that, I'll bring up John and Doug. I don't know if they're doing a tag team or not.
Okay. Yeah.
How might we do that? Right down here, okay? Okay, see what we can do here. Everybody see okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Last time we got together, we had presented the larger concept with some concept sketches of the Railroad Memorial, and that was in addition to, I think, the Greenbelt concept, which offered a lot of smaller venues for multi-use and events type of offerings. And I think the questions you had as we finished, one was related to property lines and the exact location of property lines and parcels. Hopefully I can go through this to kind of give you an understanding of where we're at. This triangle that you see, if you can follow the cursor there, this triangle and this line, blue line that you see moving through the trees is approximately the limits of the Prairie Trail as it moves along the waterfront. This narrow strip of land you see where the cursor is moving now, and correct me, Doug, if I'm wrong, this is the piece of land that John Stone and the Riverstone folks have donated to the Trail Foundation to expand our holdings to the edge of the street. And then, of course, these property lines along here you see that are kind of form the boundary of the Riverstone parking lot represent the true park boundary. And so obviously when you're out there, everything, you don't see the property lines, they're not painted on the ground, but they all merge together to work together. And so you get an idea of what our limitations and constraints are. So thoughts or questions on that? Does that help you kind of get an idea of the extents or limitations within which we're working?
I think there was some question from the commission before, I guess, what extent was city-owned property? And I guess I would ask, is that
Yeah, I think this addressed
clarified
that.
for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Obviously, as we continued to talk, there was some concern expressed. I think I expressed or presented how a person who would enter this might wander around and visit the various interpretive exhibits inside the railroad memorial, and there ensued quite a discussion about what happens for trail movers moving through. We talked about this image as you look from the north or the south coming into the site. And so there was quite a bit of discussion about the potential for conflicts. And perhaps not so much with low-skill riders, but more with high-skill riders who wanted to move through the corridor without being encumbered. And so I think we were asked to maybe take a look at a way in which we might deal with that, modifying the design of the project. And so we came up with two alternatives, one that sort of expanded or widened the trail, tapering out and maybe separating or providing the opportunity for people to slip by. And so in that location where the memorial would be, the plaza gets expanded and widened out. We might have some bollards, we might have some other constructs to kind of separate and make people understand the routing of the trail. The second one, which we'll talk about in a minute, kind of focused on maybe downsizing the memorial slightly and eliminating the trail, but just building a bypass. And so actually, as you come down the trail, you step into this, but instead of merging the plaza and the memorial with the trail like we had before this, we just have a separate bypass to bring people on and through. So hopefully you can see this. This first one, again, where we widened, we just, this dark gray area is the existing trail, or the trail as it exists today. This lighter gray area would be where we would expand at both ends, kind of a triangular shaped piece. And then we might come in and do something with different kinds of pavement treatments, but separating everything with, say, bollards or even decorative railing or some kind of construct that provides the true separation. So actually people can walk into the plaza or the memorial, but you still have adequate travel way outside to move forward. The second alternative, as I said, more detailed look, was that we maybe downsize this slightly, gives us more green space, more buffer. We just take and maybe remove the trail section in this area, and then we build a bypass. And so plaza and cycling public each have their separate place to be, plus there's some overflow green space for people to kind of mill around and transition back and forth. And so as we presented these, talked through the issues with Bill, Doug, I think, took this to the Trail Foundation, and the consensus was that this alternative number 2 really was the preferred alternative that they wanted to move forward with. And so I think here tonight, Bill and the Trail Foundation through Doug and others are asking that you look at this, endorse this, and take this forward as part of whatever action you guys forward onto the council tonight. And so with that, I don't know if there are questions or thoughts or concerns. Happy to answer those. Doug is here as well related to this, and I'm sure MOU. So,
Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question, John.
yeah.
Could you highlight why number 2 was the alternative that they preferred?
I would probably like to let them do that. If I could, please. I think maybe they felt that perhaps it was, from a trail safety standpoint, something they could gravitate to. And so, Bill or Doug, you want to take that up?
No, it's a great design, and I really like what we did when we sat down together and we made these changes. And then the other stuff you referenced, if you recall, on the other plan, there were some little pockets of areas for vendor setup further towards the road as you come across into the trail. And John, there were like 7 or 8 of them, the little half moons?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and so we just cleaned that up in there, and it's just all a green belt all through that area. And again, this is about the MOU, not so much the design, because when we get to that point, we'll come back with a design when Doug and his foundation can find some funding and we can get some things done.
Okay, Doug?
So just to further answer your question on why they went with that particular alternative, the thought was this is a highly concentrated pedestrian traffic area through Riverstone. As a matter of fact, when we did our economic impact study, this was one of the highest uses, the highest use, other than Coeur d'Alene Lake Drive. We could not measure the Coeur d'Alene City Park. That would be off the charts in the summertime to try to get a count of people flowing through there. But this was second highest other than Coeur d'Alene Lake Drive. The concern was with bicycles and pedestrians coming through this particular area at any given time, there could be conflict. So we said, let's skirt the edge, and that's how we came up with that idea. And that was both supported by staff and by the Trail Foundation to go with alternative number 2. And if I could, just for a moment, just digress for 1 second, I really liked those pickleball courts. That was beautiful. And just from experience, when you have a crack in a piece of asphalt like that, it is so problematic. You can't have a good game. It's hazardous. It's a toe stubber. You put your ankle in it and worse things happen. That looks really nice. I really like that. I just wanted to add to your comment back here about how much you really appreciate that work. That was wonderful. Good job. Any more questions?
Are we going
Christie?
to, specifically about the MOU, is there more on that? Or is this?
Have you had a chance to review the draft of the MOU?
Yes.
I think while we got Doug and John up here and Bill, go ahead and
Okay, well,
report the questions if you've.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Bill, I was just, if you could review with us the legal review of the MOU. The legal review, has it been reviewed by the city?
This is produced by legal.
By our city
Yeah,
attorney?
by our legal
Okay.
staff. And then we worked together, and then I sent it to Doug, and Doug put it to the foundation, and everybody's in agreement with it.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Doug, was there anything else you wanted to present to the group here?
Yeah, if I could add to that a little bit, the reason for the MOU, and I thought that was a good idea that we did enter into that. It was actually the city's idea to create the MOU. In order to move this project forward, you own some property and the foundation owns some property, and both of them have to be utilized in order to get this green belt and the railroad monument constructed. So in order for us to move forward, we intend to leverage the property that we own against a federal grant to get the funds to bring back to this. We're eligible to do that, you are not. Once that happens, we convey our land to you and you get the whole thing. It becomes a pretty nice gift to the city. And as we progress along, there will probably be some modifications to the plan, but we'll keep you apprised. And we're a year or 2 out from getting that whole thing to happen due to the grant cycle.
Great.
Okay. Good. Anything else for,
Well, just a comment that
Doug?
it is a beautiful design, very nice work. Thank you for your talents and energy.
Thank you.
thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
Well, what is the commission's pleasure? Is there further discussion, or if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I would make the motion that the Park and Recreation Commission recommend to council to enter into the memorandum of understanding with the Centennial Trail Foundation for the Midway project.
I would second.
Okay. Ron beat you.
That's fine.
Okay. Motion's been made by Commissioner McDowell and seconded by Commissioner Ettinger. Authorize the memorandum of understanding with the Centennial Trail Foundation for the Midway Landscape improvements at Riverstone Park. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Melissa, that moves forward unanimously. I guess, Bill, does that go directly to council, or does it go
Council
to
meets
general
tomorrow, so
services?
no, it'll go to general services next
Okay.
week, and then on to council.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there going to be, is there a need for certain people to be present at the general services meeting, or?
Not at general services. Normally, they don't have public comments. John may be there to do the presentation, probably Doug as well and myself. But then it'll just, and I don't know, they may want to move it to a consent calendar, but I think it should be presented at full council to see the design. I think it's
I
important
agree.
that council see
I think
it.
it'd be beneficial for them to
But
see
that's
what
not
was
my call,
presented to
that's my
us.
opinion, so I may be speaking out of turn a little bit.
Yeah, okay. All right. Let's go to our next item then, and it's an information item regarding commissioner reappointment. So, what have we got there, Bill?
That's
Who's
just
up for
you, you're
re-election?
all reappointed.
Okay,
So that's about it. I mean, you sent your request forward, and everybody said, yeah, that's good. You've made your known to Amy Ferguson, and so I think it was just for you to announce it.
okay.
And-
Well,
and-
is there cake?
What's that?
Have those appointments been formally approved by council, or is that? coming up?
That will go. And actually, it may have already. I think because we missed a meeting last time for lack of quorum. I think it went last time. So
Got a letter
it's
from the mayor,
official.
so
It
I'm
was
pretty
just
sure
there
it's
to
gone.
make certain that everybody in these chairs knew that they're on the hook again.
Just for a reminder for everybody, once you announce who those members are that are being reappointed, theoretically.
I think you were one of them. Jim was one.
Yeah.
I got a letter.
And I think Christie was the
And
other.
Christie.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your willingness to serve for another 3-year term. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
All right. Anything else,
Nope,
far as discussion items or announcements?
I don't have anything else, sir.
Okay, what I'm going to go ahead and do then is announce our upcoming meetings. Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019, 11:30 a.m. at Caruso's Deli here in Coeur d'Alene will be our next regular workshop meeting.
Yep.
I guess you'll determine, Bill, if we have any agenda items. For
Yeah,
that,
at this
to
time, I do
meet?
not have anything.
Okay. Then our next regular commission meeting will be Monday, September 16th, 2019, 5:30 right here in the library community room.
Good.
So with that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Tate, seconded by Commissioner Wood to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
I don't think there's any objections, so thank you, everybody.
Inside a half hour.